In my previous video, we saw that Nancy Pelosi had made a long call on a lesser-known stock, Tempus AI. This play intrigued investors and caused the stock price to jump 16%. In this video, we examine the company Tempus AI, its recent earnings call, and whether you should consider it in your portfolio. A company which supposedly works with 19 out of 20 of the largest public pharmaceutical companies. So what does Tempus AI actually do? Let's listen to the CEO explain his story.
About a year after my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. During her treatment, I became frustrated with how small a role technology played in her care, and I became fixated on how data and artificial intelligence might improve outcomes, not just for her, but for all cancer patients. At the time, next-generation sequencing was a relatively new phenomenon. We were confident NGS had the power to illuminate our understanding of disease and help patients find targeted therapies, but there were too many limitations preventing us from unlocking its true potential. Our initial plan was to make genomic tests smarter by connecting them to a patient's clinical data, so physicians could more easily incorporate the results into their decision-making. Our aha moment came when we realized that doctors routinely interact with all kinds of laboratory tests, and if we could embed AI into the results themselves, we might be able to seamlessly infuse artificial intelligence into the healthcare system and advance precision medicine. Tempus is focused on becoming the leading AI-enabled or intelligent diagnostic platform in the world by integrating data and diagnostics.
They have three products: Tempus OS, Tempus Hub, and Tempus Lens. Tempus OS is an LLM-type ChatGPT product used for lab results. Physicians and researchers can essentially get more intelligent contextual information. Tempus Hub is for patient insight, to give them better diagnostic information based off their data. Tempus Lens is a multimodal data analytics platform for researchers. The company seems to have a heavy focus on the data. This is very evident in their investor relations and earnings calls. There's a focus on the collection of what seems to be a very unique set of data. As I've said before, data can be like gold, and actually what we're finding is it's a greater differentiator in terms of the output that you get from an AI compared to even different types of LLM models. Unique input data can produce completely unique information out. So let's have a look at a little bit at the data. 2,500 institutes, 65% of academic medical centers, 50% of all oncologists, 200 petabytes of information, 7.7 million clinical profiles, 9,700 genomic insights, 6 million patient records. I mean, these are huge numbers. Along with the products, they can be split into three product lines: genomics, data, and applications. To get a feel for the numbers, the genomic product line ran 69,000 NGS tests, excluding MRD, that's minimal residual disease. And compared to Q3 2023, there's been an increase of 26% on their test runs. Currently their market cap is 8 billion, and there is a potential for the market share for massive inefficiencies in the US health market. But let's listen to the CEO explain it.
Inefficiency. And again, this is directionally right. We spend like $3.4 trillion a year in this country on healthcare, and by many accounts, a third of that is wasted. Yeah. Which means there's $1 trillion or more just wasted. So companies that are able to kind of use data and technology to route patients to the right therapeutic are going to be able to capture some of the savings generated for the system.
This slide here shows that they've only been focused on treatment selection within the genomic product line, but they could definitely benefit from the other stages that they see. Put it this way, how does your genetics make you more likely to get a specific type of cancer? And how do your genetics respond to treatments? Better insight and detection at earlier stages, as well as post-treatment monitoring, can bring down the cost per user. And if we look at it, this is the ultimate goal of any country's healthcare. Treatment response monitoring, for example, can be giving an informed detection of recurrences of certain types of cancer, lung, breast, etc. The genomic product line has grown 50% year on year. There's clearly a need for this. Looking at their numbers, their market cap currently sits at 8 billion. They currently work with 19 out of 20 of the top pharmaceutical companies from 2023. This would actually mean that they are working with the likes of Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, JW Pharmaceuticals. They have 900 million left on their contracts with their customers. They seem to be promoting collaboration rather than trying to work with discrete datasets. This can be proved by their 125% of their retention rate on their contracts. Revenues in Q4 2024 were 180.9 million versus 136 million in Q3 of 2023, an increase of 33% year on year. The genomic business delivered 116 million of their revenue in Q3 of 2024 versus 96 million in Q3 of 2023, an increase of 20.3% year on year. Their data and services division delivered about 64.5 million worth of revenue in Q3. That's up 64.4% year on year. If you're wondering how this looks like on a percentage terms, bolstering high margins on their software side of 76.8%, a gross margin of 48.4% on their genomic product lines. Their numbers are affected by acquisition of Umbre Genetics to bolster their data and testing facilities. Their combined platform goal seems to be to support geographic expansion and augment their data and analytic capabilities. As they've put it, first, we don't take large acquisitions lightly, we actually have a bias against them. Over the past 9 years, we have come to know and admire a few companies in our space. Umbre is one of them. Their hereditary cancer portfolio has become best in class. Now onto some risks as well as some pros. Well, on the pro side, they're SoftBank banked. Their model seems to be very simple. A chat for test results makes a lot of sense. There's a huge amount of efficiency and insight that you can gather through a model like that. I like the fact that their retention rate is of 125%, shows confidence by their customer base. And this growing data set that they seem to be having, I'm not quite convinced it's a moat, but I think it definitely has some asset worth. If we consider, for example, IBM Watson that was sold for parts, its data and its products were worth more than 1 billion. Taking a look at the risks, I think there are 3. Privacy and trust is probably the strongest one. One of the reasons Google Health failed was the lack of trust of a big organisation. Frankly, I have concerns. I don't really want my personal medical data to be held into one company. And what we've seen with other startups is that they don't take enough or do not put enough money into their security. Security and protection against threats is generally a retrospective exercise. However, we can see with a slight data breach, or even a single data breach, it could have serious consequences for trust of that company. When Google's DeepMind said that they would use NHS data to provide insight into kidney diseases, etc., to be honest, the UK population wasn't really clear that this was going on, and there have been some lawsuits since. So, quite frankly, this is probably the biggest concern around a company like this. The other risk is that they're actually not profitable yet, and as I'll show later, it will be 2026 before they even have the possibility of being. We've also seen bold claims like this before: cure all cancer, results very quickly. However, in fairness, I think that their model seems to make sense to me. They have a huge amount of data. They're simply putting an LLM in front of it to get you better insight, better data, better results. Okay, in conclusion, a couple of points. Management seems to be aligned. I really like this story. There seems to be ethical practices which I think shareholders will like. They seem to prioritize sustainability and ethical governance. They're building a unique collection of data, which I think is a very valuable asset. And I like the fact they work with the big players. It gives them great strategic partnerships moving forward. And we've seen this with companies like Palantir and BAE Systems, that once they've got the government regulations and a big contract, it can be very hard for other companies to compete. I mean, looking at the numbers, with a 30% revenue growth, by 2026, their EPS will be positive. I would say on the medium size, that maybe would be 0.15. It's pretty realistic to suggest that they would have 1 billion revenue by 2026. There is a big increase at the moment in their income statement. They put it down to increases in sales force relating to expanding territories to account for growth in overall testing volumes. So it seems like they're trying to sell very hard at the moment, which I think is probably the right approach. I like the company. Growth and roadmap is there. Their acquisition seems to make sense. I do have some concerns around how they're expanding quite quickly, but I'm impressed with the numbers and the data collection. It's a unique company in an AI world. I think I'll wait for the right price and wait for the Pelosi boost to kind of die down. Okay, that ends my analysis of Tempus AI. If you liked this video and you found it useful, please like and subscribe. Until next time, chaps.